Hello guys, I'm going to show you how to get some animation from Maya into Unity. I'm going to show you guys my workflow of doing this. You're welcome to do a different workflow, but hopefully you get from this how what you need to do to actually get it into Unity. First of all, I have a geometry file, so that's just holding my character model. This model is done by Sam Wright. I saved this off, and then I have a skinning file where I just have my skinning. So I reference in the model. I have referenced into a geometry group there. I didn't have a skeleton. We can see it there. It's an unbroken skeleton, so that means there's no free floating joints, and you can see that there is it deforms the model as it should do, and that's it for this file. That's saved off, and then I have a third file for my rigging, so that's just to keep the two separate. You could have the skinning and the skeleton and the rig in one file and the geometry in another one, or all within one, but it's all up to you. The rig in here is a custom one, but you can do you could do any rig. It could be setup machine or your own custom rig, but I'll just delete what was here from a previous recording. Right, so at the moment I've referenced in the skeleton, and it's not bound to the rig yet, so this is your rig, and that's the skeleton. So what we'll do is just bind it or constrain it to the rig. We'll open this and find the right joint in the rig. So that's the arm, and we'll want to constrain that. Just doing a normal pairing constraint, and to the next one down, constraint, pairing constraint. So now when we move our rig, it moves the skeleton and deforms the model. So that's it for your rig. You should save that off then. Just make sure we haven't got any animation. Cool. Save that off, and then we want to open up a new Maya session, and this is where where you store the animation. So this is where the animator would work. First off, reference in the rig itself. There we are. What you want to make sure of here is to keep the naming of the skeleton constant. So no matter what version of the rig, or whatever version of the geometry file or the skinning file you're working with, it should always be constant when the animators are working with it, for when you want to export it into Unity. So this here, this Tegan rig 06 doesn't really work, so I'm just going to name it Tegan to keep it constant. So no matter whether it's version 6 or 7 or 10, it's always going to have to be Tegan, and it goes the same for the rest of the referencing, is to keep it to a constant name. So even though in the skinning file here I got version 5 of the geometry file, it's still called geo and doesn't have any version numbers in there. So right, in the animation file here, we have these two groups here. Now what you want to do is actually export these two groups here, the skeleton group and the geometry group, to generate your asset for Unity, and that'll make sure that we have the right naming for when we export the animation. Now the problem is this screen recording doesn't allow me, it crashes whenever I try to export these two groups, so I'm not going to do that. I already done that, but basically you want to select these two, go up to export selection, and export it as an FBX. All you can you just need to do default settings for the FBX. That's fine, and then save it as whatever character name or whatever you want the asset to actually be called. I'll cancel out there. So we'll do some animation here on these two controllers. Just bend the arm in, and there we are. So we got some animation. Now what we need to do now is actually to bake down the animation onto the skeleton joints here. And what you want to do now is actually to save off a version of this file here. So you're saving your animation without baking the animation down to the joints yet. So you can go back and iterate on your animation and then export again. So either you save off, bake down and export the animation to Unity, or you could, I don't know, do some script or whatever. But basically we want to select all the joints. I'm selecting the parent constraint there as well. You can select the parent constraint, doesn't really matter, because you're going to revert back to where you previously were. Go into the edit menu, keys, and bake simulation. So what I'll do there is just put a key on every joint on every frame. So we're baking down the animation. And all you have to do now is actually export this skeleton group, and only the skeleton group, because that's holding the animation data. So we'll just go and say export selection. Hopefully it'll work. Now it's important to name this the asset, and then add something anim or whatever, a description for the actual animation. This just does that Unity can associate this asset with this animation. So we'll save that off. Default settings again is fine. Export, ignore all the warnings and errors. It's just because of the constraints, and can't get the constraints across, which is fine. We don't want to get the parent constraint across. So what the animator could do now, say we exported the animation now, could actually go back a few steps and just go back to where it wasn't baked down, and then continue animating or whatever. But I'll show you guys this in Unity just to show you guys it works. So I've got a fresh scene here, empty. I'm importing the Tegan, the character asset, so that contains the model as well as the rig, or the skeleton. So we can see here it's got the skeleton group, and it's got all the names correct. And then we'll import the animation, so that's just the animation file, and then you can see immediately that it associates this asset with this animation, and we can play it and it works. So that should be it. Hopefully this wasn't too boring to watch, but if you got any questions, let me know.